All right. Hello, hello.
Hi.
So this is my lovely friend Mique, and we are
Hello.
here to discuss this month's buddy read, which is *The Burning Girls* by CJ Tudor.
Yeah,
This book was quite the journey, quite the experience.
it was a lot,
It was a
and it was
lot.
super different from everything you've picked so far. So I did not expect I did not expect it to be so uh, direct with its commentary. But I'm really glad you picked this because I have a lot of notes.
Very, very deep. Before
Yeah.
we do jump into like anything, just so everyone knows, the beginning of this will be spoiler free. So if you're just here to hang out with us, we'll let you know before we jump into spoilers. And just to start off, why don't you just introduce yourself, Mique? Maybe for those who don't know
Sure.
you.
Hey
Yeah.
everybody, I am Mique. I am the host and face and mind and body and soul of Mickey's Book Club. And on my channel, I pretty much read anything, but my favorite genre is horror and thrillers. I am everybody's favorite drunken bookworm, twink supreme, or some random bitch on the internet, depending on who you ask. I do I do all sorts of things on my channel. I used to do vlogs, but I stopped for now. Who knows? I do long form videos on books that are especially special to me. I do drunk reviews, which is what I'm kind of my brand now.
Yeah.
And then aside from that, I just do the normal things, I do the wrap ups, I do the reviews, I do the tags, that kind of stuff. Yeah. This is who I
Yeah,
am.
seriously, if you're not subscribed to Mique, you need to go and watch his drunk reviews because they make my whole life. And he's done almost all of the book troop picks so far in like drunk reviews, and it's just like the funniest thing ever.
Except this one, because I don't think I can make jokes about this book, because this would be, oh my gosh, like this book, making
Yeah,
jokes about what happens in this book would be insensitive.
yeah. No, this book was a lot deeper than I was expecting it to be, and
Yeah.
the twist, like my brain was like, "Whoa, what?" Like I feel like I have to reread this whole book just to understand everything.
I cannot wait until we get to that twist, because I was like, oopsie.
Yeah. What? Okay, so hello everybody. Thanks for joining. Thanks for coming on. I would like to know, if you have read this book, I would like you to put a red heart in the chat. And if you have not read the book, maybe put a blue heart in the chat just so we can see who's all here because they've read it and everything like that. Um, Mique, why don't you just explain, like, non-spoilery kind of what this book is about, maybe for those of us who are here that don't know?
All right, so this book opens up with this female vicar named Jack Brooks, who I thought was a man. I was like pretty weirded out. I was like, why is this audiobook from a woman's voice? And like
Same.
I had the book and I had the audio, and it was not like, I mean, like her name is Jacqueline, but
Mhm.
normally the Jacquelines I know are J-A-C. This one is
Right.
J-A-C-K. So I was like, what? And a vicar. So I was like, a woman vicar? I didn't even know what a vicar was. I'm so clueless about religion.
Do
It's
me
not even
neither.
funny. So Jack Brooks, female.
Mhm.
She and her daughter, Flo, moved to this strange town because Jack was assigned to this new church after a traumatic incident in her previous parish.
Mhm.
So upon arriving, they see these wicker girls, and which are apparently burning girls made of wicker, made of sticks, which are understood to commemorate the martyrs that were burned at the stake during Queen Mary's time. So whilst there, Jack and Flo's hormones drive each other to pursue. Well, Jack and Flo's hormones, because she goes for the guy, pursue this drive to pursue the truths of this creepy town, and darkness ensues. Well,
Mhm.
darkness, pretty dark, pretty dark. I did not expect to be this dark. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect. Yeah, I think I agree that it was kind of confusing that the main character's name was Jack and that it was a girl. My friend Matt actually told me before I read it, he was like, just so you know, the main character's a girl. I thought it was super confusing. So I kind of knew going in to expect that. But if I didn't, yeah, I would have been like so confused. But yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, awesome. So, it seems like there's a lot of mixed people that have read it and people that have not read it. So, we'll try to keep this a little bit spoiler free in the beginning for those of you who have not read it yet. But I'm curious to know, what is everyone's ratings out of 5? I've seen mostly this book has gotten the best ratings across the board of all like the book troop picks so far. So I'm pretty curious to see what everyone's ratings are. So if you want to drop those in the comment section, and I'm curious, Mique, what is your rating? I don't know.
Well, yeah, that's crazy because like I read this book a lot later than you did, and
Mhm.
I just finished it this afternoon, and you just woke up, so I haven't even even in our 10 minutes before the live started, I didn't tell you my rating. Okay, okay. Let me start by saying this. This was definitely my favorite book that you've picked so far for the book troop, but I
Woo.
gave it 3.5 stars, and the reason
Oh
I gave
shit.
it 3.5 stars was because although it's far better than the Chalk Man, and if you people, you lovely individuals who have seen my channel, I did this worst books of the year last year, and the Chalk Man was at number 2 because that book was
Oh.
awful. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So this was significantly better than the Chalk Man. And yeah, to me, this was an airplane book, but with far too serious intent. Like, she tries to make it significant, and she does go significantly darker than most thrillers go, but a lot of interesting ideas I felt went kind of unexplored, which I'm going to get to in a while. But between this and the Chalk Man, much of CJ Tudor's criticism of religion, which he's done in her books before, it's a lot better over here. And so what I loved about the book was the atmosphere, especially how we are instantaneously essentially drawn into this world from the very beginning. Like, you can potentially hear the cello music playing the second the book starts when the girl walks in all bloody and stuff.
Mhm.
And there truly is like a genuine sense of foreboding from the very opening of the book.
Mhm.
But the thing is like an issue I had was it was too overstuffed with too many characters. Like, I forgot who half the cast was through the book. And I was taking my time. Like, this isn't a book I read in like one day. Like, I think I had like maybe 3-5 days to finish this book. And even so, I was just like, who is she again? Like, what is this old woman's name? Like, I kept confusing the senile old woman with the other old woman who she brought the coat to. I was like, what?
Yeah.
And another thing is that certain characters just felt shoehorned in to accommodate certain plot twists that I didn't think had to be there, particularly her brother, whose name I don't remember. He gave me major Dakota from the Wrong Family vibes. If you know, you know. I was
Yeah.
like, why do you know this story? Yeah. And it just so, a lot of the aspects are just quite underdeveloped, and you lose track of who these people are. And if you're not invested, it's hard to keep track with the story. And another thing about the brother, because we have two perspectives. We have Jack, who is narrated by a woman, and we have the brother, whose name also starts with a J. I think it's Jacob or something.
Mhm.
And his narration is done by this actor from Britain called Richard Armitage. And bless his acting skills, he cannot narrate audiobooks for shit. Like, he also did the narration in The Chalk Man. The Chalk Man was him and the actor in Ender's Game. Oh, Asa Butterfield did The Chalk Man trivia. And Asa Butterfield's chapters I could listen to super fast. When Richard was doing his chapters, his accent is so thick and his voice is so deep. It just sounds like he sounds clear when you listen to him slowly, but when you listen to him fast, he is eating his words. It is just so difficult to listen to.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, the character of Jack, so the reason I hated the Chalk Man was because she tries to have these heavy themes in that book, but they just feel so shallow and one-sided. But over here, the fact that she makes the protagonist a vicar herself gives us a very good window into the whole world, considering the fact that, she has the same occupation of the people that she's criticizing. So with her, we get to assess, like, why would someone choose this life of worship, of religion, as opposed to in the Chalk Man, this guy is bad, I hate religion, the abortion clinic was responsible for all this stuff, I wonder who the bad guy is. So it's just like, over here, it was like a lot more. And when they reveal the bad guy in the Chalk Man, it's like, ta-da! And we were like, no shit. But over here, it was like, oh, I can't say who it is because we have spoilers, but that's basically kind of what I thought of it from a non-spoiler point of view. How about you?
Yeah, this ending definitely had a lot more tricks up her sleeve for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like I kind of feel the same. I feel like before we talked right here, I was gonna give it a 4-star. But I do think I'm more somewhere between like a 3.5 and a 4 as well, just because, like, I mean, like you said, I had pretty much like the same kind of issues with it, where I felt like there were way too many characters. Like it was really hard for me to remember. Like I was making so many notes on like who is who, and
Me too. Look at
I was
that.
still getting it mixed up. I was like, okay, like this is way too big of a cast. And like you said, I mean, some of the characters weren't really necessary. Like, and so I understand when some books have like bigger casts and it's like they all have a part in it, but some of these characters I felt like didn't really need a part in this story. Like, and so I felt the same way. And then also I listened to the audiobook too, and yeah, the audiobook was like frustrating because like it was confusing how the male narrator was narrating Mary and Joy's point of view too, and like
Wait,
flashbacks.
but I have a theory as to why that was.
Oh, really? Okay.
Because
Okay,
of the
I'd be
plot
curious.
twist, because of who we find out who a certain person is, and it would make sense that that
Okay.
person would be in their lives, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess,
Yeah.
yeah, I haven't really thought about it too much, but I was just like frustrated because I was like, I'm so confused. Like, who is this point? Like, I was just, yeah, I was pretty confused. But I think the reason though I did end up giving it a higher rating, like you said, is because the atmosphere was really nice. It kind of felt like a horror book at times. Like I loved the way they thought they were
Yeah.
seeing these girls, and it's like, are they there? Are they not there? Like it was really spooky and weird, and I loved that. And then I also, I really liked the ending for the most part. I thought the plot twists were really solid and like well thought out, and yeah, I don't know. I thought it was a pretty solid ending there, but yeah, I agree with all of your critiques of it for sure.
I have one bone to pick about that point. Like, there was a plot twist that I think was very implausible, and it had something to do with the fact that no one in the village knew what a certain person looked like. Are you fucking kidding me?
Oh my
But
god, yeah.
like, really,
Same.
no one recognized this person's face, and it was only like, okay, fine, it was decades, but seriously, anywho, so I honestly think that this would be like a sharp objects case where we read the book and it's a middling book, but there's just so much stuff packed into it that if this was ever adapted, I think they would have to do a TV series, so we would get a lot more. Like, Sharp Objects was a super short book, but it got like an 8-hour-long adaptation.
Yeah.
I think that this would benefit from that. Like, just get a good cast. And, British people, like the BBC TV series are just fantastic. So if we just get this story and draw it out a bit more and give us a bit of development for a lot of these characters, then yeah, too many subplots. And I think that a TV series would address this starvation of development for these subplots a lot better than a little tiny constricted thriller would, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know how to speak. I'm sorry, it's late.
Yeah. I know, it's all good. Oh my gosh, yeah, I totally agree that this book was a lot. I think it was a lot more to unpack than I originally thought, and like my immediate feeling after finishing this was like I need to reread these last 50 pages because I don't know what the fuck just happened. So
Yeah.
yeah,
It's okay. The book's really fresh in my head. I'll help you through this. There was this quote actually that I wanted to bring up. Actually, several quotes that I wanted to bring up, which I think encompass the themes of this book.
Yeah.
So the first one is, quote, "I thought his skills would be better put to use in politics rather than religion, but when there isn't much of a difference, we both preached to the converted." And I think that this was the main theme in the book because, religious moralizing and hypocrisy that accompanies it a lot of the time is something that normally you can't separate from the two. I mean, you go to someone who isn't religious and you tell them these things and they would think that you were just, someone that it was completely different from them. Just like when you speak to someone with a different politics of yours, you just like grow up in completely different planets, which is like, I mean, yeah. I suppose someone raised in the faith like this person, and I don't know if she was raised in the faith because like I think she was when she was a kid, and then she lapsed and then she came back to the faith at some point. Mm-hmm. But even with that being said, like she had a certain disconnect when she was speaking with the other vicars, like the vicars, preachers, like they clearly had lived in a different bubble in the world than she did, and she felt disconnected. And I think CJ Tudor did that very well.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing I liked was how she explores the theme that belief should be a conscious choice. Like, it's not something that you're brainwashed into when you're too young to understand or question it. Like, people always ask me, what's the best book to read if you want to become an atheist? And they think I'm going to say something like The God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. And no, the best and most horrific book to read if you want to become an atheist is the Bible, especially the Old Testament. And I know this is something super controversial, but I mean, this is the theme of the book, so what you going to do, right? And, the concept of hell, I mean, this eternal torture chamber of damnation is something that I would consider child abuse. Like, I don't think you should tell young children things like this because it's traumatizing. Like the fact that you tell a young child, if you do bad things under his eye, you'll be burned forever. Okay? Okay.
Intense.
Now take this paper, be a good boy. You know, I mean, it's just, this perhaps is a controversial opinion, but this is what the book is about. So, I mean, I stand firm with what I say.
Yeah.
And by the way, they would show this film to us in school growing up, and I don't know if you've seen The Passion of the Christ, but that is the most gory, freaking bloody film I've ever seen. It is a Mel Gibson. It's directed by Mel Gibson, and it is a Mel Gibson film through and through. It is one of the most violent, traumatizing films I have ever seen. It is an R-rated movie, and it is not meant for children. And they showed that to us when we were youngins. That movie came out in 2004 when I was 8 years old. And the second the DVD came out, they were like, children, face your eyes to the screen. And we were just like,
oh my God. That's intense.
It is. It's indoctrination, especially. And I think that this is one of the themes here. I mean, like, it's guilt tripping with ramifications that people grow up with their entire lives. Like, even people who have left the faith have, like, you know, Christian guilt. Like, there are certain things they don't do in life because they're just so scared. Mm-hmm. And the other theme I liked, and I'm curious about this, was how it's so much harder to be taken seriously as a woman in this point of view, because all throughout time we've had male priests and women were relegated to the nun area. And what do you think? Do you think this book did a good job at distinguishing that dichotomy?
I mean, I think so. Like, I don't really have a lot of knowledge about like the history of like all that stuff because I'm not really religious myself. But I mean, I like from what I read, like I didn't have any issues with it, and I thought it was well done.
Yeah. And there was I'm a religious person, and I liked how Jack wasn't like yeah. That's a really good observation. Yeah. I also really liked how she tries to, actually, this is a theme I didn't like. Like, there is a theme of female sexuality that I felt was vastly unexplored. And the reason I say this is because the way female sexuality is treated in relation to male sexuality feels like a real double standard. We see so many films of men exploring their sexualities, like freaking American Pie is filled with, you know, disgusting, like, I don't want to sound like a snob or anything, but like, you know, we've had to sit through so many movies of men jerking off in cups and shit, and it's just like it barely makes a dent in the public consciousness. But when it's a film about a woman exploring her sexuality, it gets slapped with an NC-17 rating. It's like, no, women aren't allowed to explore these things because they have to be like fine, pristine, girdle-bound, you know, chaste creatures. And I think that she explored this when one of the characters, Mary, was accused of being possessed. Like, and there was like a subplot of Mary potentially being involved with this older priest. So I was under the impression that perhaps that sexual connection was something that, and her exploring her sexuality at that young age, which, I mean, come on, she was like 15. Come on, like we don't want to be prudes here. At that age was something that the mom, and they said that she was raised in an abusive household, was finding to be problematic. So I think that when they were saying that she was possessed, perhaps that was what they were saying that she was possessed by. But, excuse me, that was just very unexplored for me. Like, I wish that they had leaned into that theme a bit more, which is why I say, like, if there's a TV show, like, perhaps we can see more scenes of her as a child. Like when Sharp Objects, right? The Amy Adams character had like whole scenes with her being played by the little girl from It. Like, if they could just do this here, like, this would be, I don't know if it would be perfect, but they could have the potential for perfection.
Yeah.
I
didn't really pick up on that. Like, that's a really interesting observation, and I totally agree.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're like really good at like analyzing like the context in the books. Like, I don't even pick up on some of these things.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, the reason it appeared to me was because I don't know. I mean, I don't know if this is a problem for books, but it certainly is a problem for cinema. Like, whenever there's a film about a man doing this thing, I mean, okay, it would even probably get away with a PG-13, but if a woman does it, oh boy. So perhaps my observation of that happening made me guess that this was probably what she was going for. But the fact that I had to guess is a problem, because like, if this was something that she really wanted to explore, I wouldn't have to, you know, dig deep into my psyche of a human experience and be like, is she trying to go for this? Because like, no, it's not. It's the reader's job to, yes, bring your human experience to every book you read. But it's the author's job to convey messages well if they want to convey them, and not have us assume that they are in there, which is why I had to deduct some points, in my opinion, and the character development, which was just not that good.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Well, I think we should probably jump into some spoilers and just discuss all of the things. Yes. So I think, for anybody here that has not read the book yet, I think we are going to be jumping into some spoilers now, just because there is so much to discuss. Let's do it. So let's just go ahead and jump right in. I think, what do you think in this book was like the first big twist that you like didn't see coming? Like, what was like the first thing that you were surprised by?
The first thing I was surprised by was when Flo was in the graveyard and she was taking pictures and she saw an actual burning girl. I was like, is this book actually going to have paranormal stuff in it? Because normally when books of this nature come out, they hint at something paranormal, but then in the end they revealed that it was all man-made. But then I was like, if Flo had not been told that the arms and head were chopped off because this is something that Jack found out when she was digging through Fletcher's research, then how would she have known that this was a thing? So then I started thinking, is she going to go paranormal? But then a lot of the book had, a lot of the book took place addressing the interpersonal relationships and darkness between the people in the town. So the fact that she was able to get away with both, like, it's a really tough balancing act to pull off both a human horror and a supernatural horror. Like, normally books that are able to do this are ones that I think are really good. And she does pull off this balancing act really well, which is why I gave it a 3.5 as opposed to a 3.5, because she's able to juggle both the paranormal foreboding stuff and the thrilling stuff, which is why when you said that you said the book sounded like a horror book at some point, I honestly thought it was at one point. Like, I honestly was like, am I reading a horror book for her thriller book club? Did she make a mistake? But then, in the end, you can justify it being both. I think it's a horror thriller. I don't know.
Yeah. I know, it did feel like a horror at times with those ghosts. I was like, what the fuck is happening? It was creeping me out. But, I think the first thing that shocked me personally was when it got revealed that the male point of view was Jack's brother. And I had thought, like, for some reason in my brain, I thought that it was like her husband and she was like lying about him being dead or something.
Yeah.
Like, because I was like, who's this? Like, she was getting letters like, this guy just got released from prison, and I was like, who is she talking about? And I was so confused the whole time. And so I was pretty shocked to find out that it was her brother. But like, her brother's character, I feel like, is one of the most unnecessary characters in this book. Yeah. Right? I mean, it was like, there's this
what does he do? Literally, the only thing he does is show up and drop the picture frame that's never addressed again. And then he pulls her out of the fire at the end. Like, why couldn't Flo have pulled her out of the fire? I mean, they didn't have anything about, her being tall or overweight. Like, I'm pretty sure Flo could have pulled her out. Like, why did we need an unnecessary man that she never bumps into at any point? Like, it's only when she's like, I think it was my brother. It could have been my brother. And it's like, why was he even in this story? Like, he another thing. He doesn't just show up and help her. He goes on a full-on murdering rampage on the way to her. He camps in this like squatter's building and kills a guy who tries to sexually proposition him. He kills this innocent old couple for no reason. He kills this, he's like going on a full-on murder rampage, and it's like, to what? To pull her out of this place at the end? He kills the priest that ends up having to contact her because, it's like a murder in her previous parish. I'm like the whole thing was that she had to leave the parish because this young girl was murdered by her parents, and then somebody else gets murdered in her parish, and he doesn't have anything to do with the story. It's like, what the fuck?
I know. It was so unnecessary. It kind of like you said earlier, it reminded me of The Wrong Family, where it's just like
Dakota. Yeah. Dakota. Like, for those of you who haven't read The Wrong Family, first of all, we're discussing spoilers anyway. And this was a prior pick, but in The Wrong Family, you have this brother character. No. The brother. Dakota was her brother. He was Winnie's brother. Like, what is it with these people who use mental illness as an excuse to have a sibling come in, a la Deus Ex Machina at the end? Yeah. And I can understand Dakota being a plot device. I'm not saying it's good. It was absolutely reprehensible how she treated mental illness in that book. But I can understand how he had to come in and kill the husband and kill the other one and and do killing to get her off the hook. But then in the end of this book, what does he do? He drags her out of a burning building.
No.
Like
why? It's like there was no point for him to be really in this story anyway. Like his twist was like a good twist, I guess, but then like there's no reason for him to be in the story, Like,
it was not a good twist. I disagreed over there.
Yeah. I guess I was just like surprised by it, but like it's just frustrating when there's no like justification for him to be in the story anyways. And wasn't the epilogue of like him making the burning girls dolls and stuff? So I'm like, okay, was he the one making those the whole time?
No. It was Clara.
Oh.
It was Clara, and Clara was the woman who had a childhood crush on Grady, and Grady was the who was going after Mary. And since Clara had a crush, she killed Joy. And Clara was the one who invited what's her name? Invited Jack / Mary to come over to be the parish person to get closure or something. And the whole time she was there, she was putting the burning girl dolls with the maggots in there.
And then Clara.
The epilogue, he's in like a psych ward drawing the burning girls. Why? The ever-living fuck is he like? Is this the epilogue? This has nothing to do with anything.
That's what I mean. I'm like, why is he in the epilogue? Because his character like didn't really matter this whole story. So like,
like normally the epilogue is something like. Have you read the book Best Day Ever by Kyra Ruuda?
No, I haven't read it yet.
Like that one had this like interesting epilogue. Okay, well, I'm not going to say what happens, but the point being is that epilogues are in the book to give you like a lingering aftertaste. Like you think that the book has ended and that everything has been wrapped up in like a neat bow, but then the epilogue comes in and tells you like, oh no, this story isn't done. There is still something to be said about the haunting feeling you are feeling. The epilogue over here does what? What does it do? What does it do? He's in a psych ward. What's he gonna do? Escape like Michael Myers in Halloween? Is that gonna be the gimmick of the next book? If what's her name? CJ Tudor runs out of ideas and can't write books anymore. Like, oh well, I set up this character, so I might as well make him follow this woman as she goes to Australia. How does he know that she's gonna go to Australia? How is he gonna know about that? How is he going to know that she moved to Australia? Like, Facebook? Is he going to Facebook stalk her? I'm sorry for going on a rant, but
it just doesn't make sense.
I know. It doesn't make sense.
Interesting. What? Are we to assume that Grady is Flo's father?
I didn't think of that. I know that Joy was pregnant, but here's the thing. I know that Joy was pregnant, and that was a whole issue. But I think that I know that Grady favored one of them over the other, but I know that the issue that Grady had with Mary was that he was performing illegal exorcisms on her that were like deemed very inappropriate. I don't know if they had a sexual thing going on, but I think that based on what Joy had told her, that it was only going on with Joy. I don't know, but that's pretty interesting, and that leaves a lot to be thought of. I don't know. Could be.
Yeah, wasn't that why? Because Justin put, I just still don't understand Clara's motive. What was her end goal? Wasn't it because she was like jealous?
I think she was jealous, but then when she was confronted in the end, she said that it was an accident. It was an accident. I don't know how she got thrown into the well, but it was an accident. Promise. But then I suppose maybe Justin is asking what her motivation for having Mary / Jack show up at the town was. Like. I don't know. What do you think? What do you think she wanted her there? Because I was like, why do you want her there? Like, what kind of closure do you want? Like, I didn't really grasp that part. I didn't grasp the logic of that part. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. Oh wait, lost it. Mary killed Grady, so Clara hated her, right? That's what I thought. Like, or that's why I thought she was like jealous and she was kind of like out for revenge.
Yeah. I think Clara had like beef with both. I think she had beef with Mary for killing Grady, and then I think she had beef with Joy for being the one that Grady so desired, I guess. Yeah.
Oh,
well, that's what I think happened.
She's saying Mary was the pregnant one. Grady couldn't be Flo's dad because Flo would have to be 30 years old now.
Oh, well, I wasn't smart enough to do the math. I just assumed that she. I mean. Okay, yeah, I guess. Yeah, well, that does make sense because Flo was 15 years old. Okay, we're going to do some math now. Yeah. Flo was 15 years old, and Mary left when she was a young kid. So if she was a father, yeah. Unless it's like a case like, you know, the movie Orphan, when she was like pretending to be a young kid the whole time, but was actually a 30-year-old woman.
Oh gosh. Oh jeepers. Yeah, I think I was really shocked by the twist that Jack was married. Like that was the most shocking moment of this book for me because I was like, wait, like that was the twist that made me feel like I needed to reread this entire thing because I was like, what?
Well, honestly,
Like,
that's how I was able to justify Richard Armitage doing the voice for Joy and Mary, because when they reveal eventually that Mary is Jack, and there are so many names I keep forgetting.
I know.
Mary is Jack.
Yeah.
I was under the impression that it would logically make sense that the younger brother, whose name I think is Jacob, is that his name? Can anybody in the comments tell us what his name was? I think it's Jacob. Let's call him Jacob for discussion's sake. That Jacob would have been hanging out with them because he wasn't that much younger, and I suppose I don't know. Maybe he. I mean, like the fact that he was her brother perhaps gave me the impression that perhaps, you know, maybe he was in the room with them while they were hanging out, but they weren't addressing him because they had like their own little thing going on without him knowing. Mm-hmm. You know, that's so that's why I think they gave him that voice, because it would have made sense for a woman to do those, right? But like the fact that they gave that to Richard Armitage, or I don't know, maybe he demanded that he wanted to be paid more, so they were like, okay, we'll give you more work then. I don't know.
Oh my god, I know. And did you find it confusing at all that the same female narrator was narrating like Flo and Jack's chapters? Because
no, because the point of view is different, because Jack's chapters were told in the first person, the I, and then when it was Flo, it was told in the third person. The Flo showed up to the place to repair her camera. So that's how I differentiated between the two. What I did find confusing was the fact that Flo wasn't given individual chapters. Like it was just Jack's chapters, but then a chapter break and then her point of view. So that's what I found confusing.
Yeah, because there would be times where it would switch to like Flo's point of view and I like wouldn't notice for some reason because I was like listening to the audiobook, but I was just kind of like passively listening at times and I wouldn't notice the switch. And then I would be like, there was literally a scene where Flo kissed Wrigley for the first time and I thought we were in Jack's point of view and I was like, what? Literally like grabbed the book and then I was like, oh my god, it's Flo's point of view. Like,
you thought that Jack was being a cradle snatcher.
Yeah, I was like, what is happening? But no.
I can totally, no, it's totally fine. I mean, I can totally imagine how someone would make that mistake if you were to listen to this very heavy book passively, because I normally listen to audiobooks while I'm doing the dishes. So I was like, doing the dishes, listening to this book, you know, you just listen in here and there to the important things. And then I was like, I can't do this. So I switched to my podcast. I was like, there's no way I can do this without the book in front of me, highlighting stuff.
That's what I mean. I was like grocery shopping and I was just listening to it and I was like, wait, what the fuck? Like,
this isn't the grocery shopping book. Maybe the other books we picked, but then this one is just like, no. Yeah.
This is interesting. What are your thoughts on Wrigley?
I was kind of sad that he was the villain. I was like kind of shipping them together because, you know, she was like this like outcast girl. Like they'd call her Vampirina. So she was probably, I don't know, goth-like or something. Yeah. Heavy on the face powder and the black lipstick, I guess. And then Wrigley was this other like, well, outcast, but then he was like faking his illness. So I suppose, I don't know, maybe she said he was vaguely attractive. So perhaps he was like putting on an act, I guess, this whole time. Yeah. I don't know. I was like kind of like happy that she had someone there for her throughout all of this. And I was just so pissed at that bitch Rosie, Rosie, oh my god, she was major Rhiannon from Turn of the Key vibes, major Emma vibes, like major like I want this bitch to die at the end of this book.
Oh my god. I know, she was terrible.
She was horrible. She was absolutely horrible. And so the thing with Jack, the thing with Wrigley was like I was like rooting for them to like be kind of a thing, like even though I don't like romance, but I was just like, oh, I love it when outcasts and when weirdos find each other, because there's like, too many normal people in the world. So when two non-normal people find each other, it is just so endearing. And then he turned out to be a bit of a serial killer. So I was just like, I mean, it's still hot. Just kidding. Just kidding.
I know. I was getting weird vibes from Wrigley like right away. Like I just didn't trust him. I don't know why. I just had a feeling that like I don't know. I never trust the teenage boys in like the romance and thrillers. I'm like shady. But
I don't blame you.
They were reminding me almost like of Heathers. Like I don't know if you've seen Heathers, but I was picturing like
I have. Of course I've seen Heathers. Winona Ryder, Christian Slater. Hello.
Exactly. I was picturing them as like a Winona Ryder, Christian Slater, and I was like, Something's
Those
going.
guys were way too old to be in that movie. I just need to put that out there. They were in their 30s. They look like 30-year-olds in high school. But yeah, I mean, I can totally imagine that. Like him being the Christian Slater character, her being the Winona character, using the big words. Like it was just like, yeah, ugh, too bad that couldn't happen. And then Christian Slater was a serial killer. So
Dude, this scene was the most like like when Wrigley put her in the freaking coffin with his mom's like decomposing body. Ooh! So
and then he's
gross.
like, thank you for telling me that there was a vault. Now I can like, put both of you in there. Yeah.
I know
And that was so gross. Yeah.
that was so disgusting when she like went to Wrigley's house to like talk to his mom, and then like that whole scene was so gross and it felt so like horror to me. Like, ugh.
We need to talk about that name, Saffron Winter.
I know.
I laughed for like 3 straight minutes when I first read that name because saffron is like a spice that you put in your food, like Saffron Winters. That sounds not like a name I've ever heard. Apologies that someone named Saffron actually like types in the comment section over here, like, hey, don't bash my name. Sorry, I've heard that name before. I've seen that name spelled out in the grocery store, but I've never seen it addressed to somebody in real life. So that name was so funny. So yeah, when he goes into her house, when she goes into his house, and then she opens the room, I was kind of like seeing it, like when she was describing the smell, and when she didn't double check and call the mom, when she just like let them go on that excursion to that night house through a text and was like,
I know.
Yeah, when she was like chiding herself and she was like, should I have called? No. And I was like, okay, this is gonna get brought up again. Wrigley totally replied with the mom's phone, or the mom is not in the picture. So the second they said Saffron Winters, who they haven't met the whole book, and she shows up and it's stinky, I was like, there's more than a dead fish in here. I can tell you that. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, that's so true with what you said. I was like, why did she only text her? Like, that defeats the purpose, because like anybody could text from the other side of that phone. Like,
I know, and it was like, why did you only text her? Why did you not validate anything? But anyway, yeah. Well, another thing I wanted to get to was the fact that there was some visual storytelling in here that I liked. Like the fact that she kept her cigarettes and booze in this empty Bible thing. This case that resembled a Bible, but if you opened it, it was like a case for her vices. And I mean, the empty Bible, I think it was like a metaphor for, religious people being imperfect humans, but they like to, and not all, obviously not all, but the ones that get highlighted a lot are known for their moralistic grandstanding. And I think that this was what CJ Tudor was trying to highlight in this book. And they have their own vices and secrets, and that they hide behind their perfect lives. So I think that book / case was a metaphor for that, because it looks all innocent on the outside. It's a Bible. But when you open it up, it's got booze, it's got weed. So I think that was like some visual poetry, an attempt at visual poetry on her part. Pretty heavy-handed, but I appreciate the effort.
Yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah.
This comment's so interesting. I thought his mom was going to be Joy. That would have been cool.
Oh, so Joy never left the village, and they were hiding it. The whole village was like in cahoots to hide her scandal. That would have been interesting. Yeah, I mean, like, I can guess why logically it didn't make sense in the context of the story, but I'm pretty sure she could have worked that in if she changed a few things, I guess. I don't know.
And I mean, the whole thing with Jack being Mary, like, while it was such a good twist, I was also like, how did nobody in this town like recognize her? And she even talked to the reporter who was like investigating that specific case still, right? And it's like you're telling me that reporter was just like clueless.
Like, I don't know. I think I have like a vague memory of her having been a blonde as a kid, and then she was like a brunette when she came here, which is why she had a different hair color from Flo. Excuse me. But don't you just love how you can't edit anything out on a live?
I know.
Sorry.
Oh my God.
So, oh my God, I was like on this other live with my friends talking about this book called Night Film, and that book was so dense. I had so many notes.
Oh my God.
It was my turn to speak, and I had to look for something on my notes, and I was like straight up like 10 seconds not talking. And then I forgot that I was on a live. I was like, dude, you can't edit this out. And I was like, oh shit, I swear I'm looking. So yeah, I was like panic mode, but eventually. So anyway, Yeah.
Oh,
So I forgot the question. I'm so sorry. I went on a tangent. Another thing we can't edit out.
I know. I'm like lost my thought too. I don't even know.
The chaotic energy. I live for it.
I know. Well, being live, yeah, I'm like, I have to remember everything on the spot. I don't know.
I swear, I ramble nonstop. Like whenever I film a video, I film for like 40 minutes, and all you people see is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I edit so much stuff out. Like I'm like, nope. This has nothing to do with the video. I don't know why you went on this for 20 minutes, dude. So crap. Yeah, I'm like always worried. I'm like, am I gonna upload like a feature film to YouTube? And then it's like, no, with the amount of stuff I have to edit out, it's just like it's not gonna happen. So I'm like, okay, thank you for rambling. Yeah. What were we talking about?
Ooh, Honey said also, didn't Jack saw the mom of the missing daughter? What's up with that? Jack saw the mom of the missing daughter?
Jack.
I'm
I keep
confused.
forgetting Jack is the protagonist because we were just calling her Mary for the longest time. Or
is it
who
Joan?
I can't remember. Joan. No. There was two old people. There was one old person who was like sharp and all there, and then there was another old person who I believe Jack volunteered to drive home, and she was the mom of Joy. And when Jack was in the house of this person, she started talking about like Joy is this lovely girl. She's gonna come back, but Mary, that woman I think was possessed. And I'm sorry, my Jesus accent just showed up. So that's what I think. Which is why when she went up to her bedroom, which is why she entered the bedroom, right? Remember she entered the bedroom and she was like looking for that like picture of the two of them. And she was like, I better get out. And I was like, why are you entering the bedroom? Like, do you have no decency? And then in the end, I was like, okay, I guess this is why she was entering the bedroom. So, yeah, I guess the dementia explains that away. But then there was that other old woman who Joan, the other old woman, who was all there. I'm like, did you not recognize her? I mean, you don't need to grow up with someone to infer that this person is somebody. And another thing. They made a huge point of how Flo looked so much about how Jack looked when she was a kid. Like they looked, young Flo looked identical to young Jack, who is Mary. Did no one see Flo and realize she just looks like this girl who went missing? And this was a huge case that was in the papers.
Exactly.
Bruh.
I know. Exactly. Yeah, what? Because, yeah, if she looked so much like her as a teen, then wouldn't they be like, oh, the resemblance?
Yeah, and this was even like further exacerbated when Jacob, who I think his name is, I'm gonna go check at some point.
I think it is
Jacob. Okay,
yeah,
Jacob shows up to the house of Jack when Jack is away, and then he's like stalking Mary. He's stalking Flo through the window, and then she chases him off, and then he drops a picture frame, and then she sees the picture frame, and she's like, "This woman looks just like me." So it's like, okay, this is obviously Jack or Mary when she was a kid. And if she looks so much like you and you show up to this village at the age that she was when she disappeared at 15 and you're 15, are you telling me that no one remembered what you looked like when this was a huge case that was in the papers, which is why your town has a person who works in journalism to begin with? Exactly. Who still works there? Who still lives there? What the fuck?
I know. And she was still like actively working on it, right? Or I don't know.
She was.
Yeah.
I don't like, did they cross paths with Flo? Was this and Mique wasn't Mique one of them? Like Mique was like in the house babysitting Flo.
Yeah,
like
I know.
Mique is babysitting her, which is why she was absent largely in the third act because he was babysitting her. Like, wouldn't you think that he would make the connection? Like, she looks like a kid that went missing, and she has a mom who is the same age as the kid would be if she ever was still alive. So,
what kind of reporters are these?
On my laptop. I was like, why did you not make this connection, Mique?
Ridiculous.
I know. I mean, they should have had her be like adopted. That would have made sense. Like, why? Like, literally, what is one good reason why Flo could not have been adopted? I mean, CJ, if you're watching, CJ, and you are pretending to be someone, if you're manning a sock puppet account, please type your reasoning in the screen.
Well, I had a question, because you said you have read just the one other CJ Tudor book, The Chalkman,
The
and
Talkman,
you like this
yeah.
one more. I do think this one is my favorite from CJ Tudor too. I've only read The Chalkman, which I really liked The Chalkman, but it was so long ago now. I don't even know. And then I also read The Other People, and that one was like okay. It was like a 3-star book for me. So I definitely think this one's her best too. I would agree. And then what was the other question I had? Oh, I was gonna say if you had to compare this book to like another book or another movie, like is there anything it reminds you of, kind of, or gives you like similar vibe to?
Oh, that's
I know,
tough.
'cause I can't.
I'm gonna compare it to a video game. The
Okay.
town that they go to reminds me of the town in this video game called Resident Evil 4. Like Leon
Oh,
Kennedy, huge crush. Oh my god, Google him. He is so fine, so fine. Don't you just hate how fictional men or men in books and video games and movies just make
yeah.
people in real life, just puts them to shame? Like your standards are just so high.
Yeah.
Like it's so like I should have never watched anime and played video games ever. Because
Yeah.
now I'm looking for the impossible. Anyway, Leon Kennedy's super hot. Beginning of the game, he goes to this town, and I can, if you Google it, Resident Evil 4 beginning, it looked exactly like that town in the beginning of that video game was the town I pictured in this book. And
Yeah.
I'm gonna send it to you. I'm gonna send you pics later, and you're gonna know
Do.
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yes.
Yeah,
Please do.
I will do.
That is cool.
What
I
about
know.
you?
I
What does this remind you of?
I know. I couldn't think of anything on the spot because I was trying to think of other thrillers that kind of have this like religious feel to it, but I just don't read a lot of books like that. So I'm like,
I know. I mean, like when the themes are really heavy, I normally just save that for nonfiction books because like I read the nonfiction books, which I never talk about on my channel because it's just, I mean, it's just not my brand. So I just like
yeah,
I don't include those in the wrap ups. But whenever I read a nonfiction, I read something serious. But whenever I read fiction, I want something that provides escapism. So I don't really want to be reminded of the awfulness in the world.
yeah,
So this isn't normally a book I'd pick up, but I'm really happy I did because it's just I'm glad. Well, I'm glad I gave CJ Tudor a second chance because I completely wrote her off. Like after the Chalkman, I was like, this woman has not a single interesting idea. That book is literally Verity meets It. And it was just insulting how much she was able to get away from literally copy pasting a group of boys with one girl that has ginger hair and one of the boys is a comedian. Give me a break.
yeah,
And the freaking guy is like faking his illness. And she does that again in this book. So it's like, CJ.
yeah.
So, I'm going to lower the score a bit. Just kidding. I'm not going to lower the score because she did a good job. She did a good job. But yeah, The Chalkman was just a blender of other books with not a single original idea in that book. And this book was significantly, vastly better. So yeah, I mean, that's why I'm glad I gave her a second chance because like now, hopefully I don't know, maybe she will outdo herself. She'll either put out something better or start sounding like a parody of herself, considering how much of the themes here were very similar to the themes of the Chalkman, albeit done better, in my opinion.
Yeah. True. Ooh, that's interesting. Bates Motel because mother and child moved to a new town to have a new start.
Vera Farmiga was in that one. Never seen that show though, but I heard it was good. Yeah.
Freaking love Bates Motel. It's so good.
Really? Is it on Netflix?
It is. Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. It's a good one. What did y'all think about the coffins? Is this like talking about the coffins in the vault?
I think the vault. I think when Flo's leg pierced through the church floor. I don't know. I mean, I liked the fact that Grady was in there. Like, I like the fact that they were able to answer where he ended up in a plausible way. Mm-hmm. But I mean, they never go down there. They go down there once, but it doesn't really come out for most of the book. So I mean, mm-hmm. I don't know. It was a cool detail, I guess. What did you think?
Yeah, I think the same. Yeah, I think it was kind of surprising to me that was like in the church, because I was like, whoa, and I kind of liked the mystery of like trying to figure out what happened to that reverend that was in the church, because they were saying like, oh, he killed himself, or there was like, oh, he tried to burn the church down, and there was all this like mystery there. So I liked kind of getting to uncover that too.
Yeah, well, actually, I was surprised that there was like a burial site under this small church because like having been to Europe, I've seen like really big cathedrals. A lot of them normally do have tombstones over there. Like even one near where I live has like a cemetery-ish near but like normally the smaller churches don't have that in the budget. So I was kind of curious. I don't know, maybe if they do like a TV series, like they would have like a nice giant Gothic church, and it would be able to justify why they would have that in the budget to have over there. But then again, you had this Simon Harper guy that was like giving them lots of funds. So perhaps he contributed to that. Maybe he has skeletons in the closet / vault, skeletons in the vault, you know?
Yeah.
Phone, literally. I guess. I don't know.
I know, because the vault also answered Harper's family secret.
Yeah. The thing about the martyrs was fake news. Like, they died 10 years later. They did not get burned.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it showed...
Did she get the exorcism kit from Clara as a threat that someone knew about her past?
Was that her blood on the knife? What do you think? Do you think that was her blood on the knife?
I know.
Or do you think that was Grady's blood on the knife? Because, like, I think she killed Grady with, like, a scalpel. I don't know if she killed him with that knife, but I think that knife was being used on her. I don't know. But I wonder whose blood on the knife that was.
I know.
But yeah, I do think it was a threat. I do agree with that.
It was confirmed to come from Clara, right? Like, they said that it was? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, at first I thought it was, like, the old priest was, Fletcher was investigating. So I thought that perhaps, since he knew that there was going to be well, I don't know, maybe he didn't know that there was going to be a new guy, but perhaps he had that as part of his investigation, and Aaron gave it to her to pursue his case, which is why they put her in the house that had all his research in it. But then, so that was what I thought at first. But then, like, but they do admit that Clara set up for her to have that to remind her of her past. So, yeah, I think it was Grady. Yeah, likely, most likely. Yeah, most likely.
Interesting.
And Jacob did come in. Jacob did come in when the shenanigans and the possession things was happening. Yeah.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Well, does anybody have any final thoughts or any final things that they would like to share? I think I've gone through all the notes that I wanted to mention.
Yeah. Yeah, if anybody in the comments has any final thoughts, because, like, I mean, I think I've gone through everything. Yeah, went through that. Yeah, I have like 4 pages of notes on my Google Doc. I swear, I didn't think, like, normally when it's a thriller, I have like 1 page for the non-spoiler stuff, and I have 1 page for the spoiler stuff. This one, I was like, ooh, so much stuff.
I know, I had this meme saved to my phone, like, this is how I felt while reading.
Yeah, like, I did not expect to read something so heavy after Night Film, because that book had 8 pages of notes. Because I came to that live show prepared. Because I come to these shows prepared because I need to, deliver the goods.
I love Night Film so much.
I love that book. It's like my favorite thriller of all time. Like, I don't think anyone can outdo what Marisha Pessel did in that book. It was just so special. Like, I was like, the whole time reading that book, I was just like sincerely hoping that those Cordova films were real, and that they were doing those underground screenings in Europe and Japan. And I was like, I want to show up, and I want to know what those movies are like, traumatizing everybody. Because I feel like I've seen, like, as a horror fan, I feel like I've seen everything, like all the usual suspects, the Cannibal Holocaust, the Serbian films. Like, I've seen everything. And it's like, what could have traumatized these people as much, right?
I feel like Night Film is like a film lover's thriller, it's so like the way it talks about film and like the directors and like it's just so good. And the ending, I was like,
the ending was so fantastic. It was like the most epic plot twist, and the fact that like the book had bonus content, like you could like look at movie posters, and it was just like and like the titles of his movies, like Figures Bathed in Light, Thumbscrew. It's like, why aren't these real? Why can't somebody like plagiarize this idea? Like, somebody rip him off at least, so we get a semblance of what this would look like in film form, I guess.
Yeah.
So good. Sorry, tangent.
Did anyone else think that the involvement and implications of gay characters was kind of forced?
Oh, was this the parents of Ruby?
Yeah, this was like, or wasn't it like the guy Aaron had a relationship with like the Reverend who died or something?
Yeah, Aaron had a relationship with Fletcher, and they were keeping it a secret. And I believe that Simon Harper threatened Fletcher, saying, like, if you tell people about this vault, I'm out you. So I don't know. I mean, it's no surprise that religion, or this specific religion that she's critiquing, is not very friendly to the LGBT community. So I don't know. Maybe Annika's concern is that she didn't explore that theme enough. but I suppose it's not in there. Also, I think that I don't know. I was under the impression that Ruby's parents were both women. I could be wrong. I could be wrong. But yeah, this was I don't know. I mean, like, yeah. My opinion of this was that I'm glad that she put it in there to critique, but it was just another one of the themes, in addition to the other ones I mentioned before, that was just vastly unexplored and just like thrown in there for like the sake of, you know.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, I agree. I felt like it was just kind of like thrown in, and yeah, it wasn't really talked about much after like that was a reveal. But, but yeah, well, yeah, I think that just about wraps up all of the things that we wanted to talk about with this book.
Oh my god, I can't believe we were on for 54 minutes. That went by so fast.
It did. I feel like this book was a really good discussion book. Like, I feel like so far out of all the booktube picks that I've picked so far, I feel like this one is a really good discussion book just because there's so much to talk about with this book, I feel like. And yeah, and thank you guys so much because you guys actually picked this book. I didn't pick this one. You guys picked this one on the Instagram polls. So that was an awesome pick. So thank you guys so much, and thank you so much to Mique for being on this live with me, for hanging out.
Anytime.
If you guys are not subscribed to Mique, his channel link is in the description, so you can go and check him out. He's just the most fun, like, ball of sunshine to watch, and like, seriously, I don't know if you are gonna make a drunk book review for this one, but I feel like I feel like there's enough content to do it, you know, but I know it's a more like serious book, so.
Yeah, like I feel like I need the drunk reviews are meant for like more of the shallow ones. Like I think
Yeah,
if I don't know, I certainly didn't get any comedic material reading what happened in this book. So
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, thank you all so much for joining us, and we will be signing off. And thank you so much for hanging out with us, and we will see you later.